everybody. Dr. Dustin here. It is Friday the 13th, and all of our electronics are working so far, so that's fantastic. Welcome, everybody, to the show today. We do have a full house in the building. We have, of course, Evelyn here in the chat. Say hello, Evelyn.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We got a mic working there. Excellent. And, of course, Kevin behind the scenes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. What time of day is you're tuning in?
Absolutely. It is 4 p.m. Central Time in the great state of Texas. And what a week we've had. I don't know about you, but I hope you guys are enjoying this. You're learning something from it, even if it's just a little bit of the amount I'm learning from it. The content, I think, has been more dynamic every episode, it seems like. This was a big week. We talked about motivation and effort and the role that plays in dealing with chronic pain or chronic health issues, right? And it's quite interesting, you know. Of course, on Monday we talked about the motivation ladder, right? So this idea that, we started off with the mice study, right? That for some reason, mice with chronic pain just are not motivated, right? And that probably has something to do with the midbrain, the nucleus accumbens. But we talked about the motivation ladder. And Kevin, if you want to pull that up, we can review that for those who missed the episode. But essentially, we look at 5 steps to understanding how to get some motivation back in our lives. First, it's safety first. Of course, we want to make sure that we're not going to injure ourselves, that whatever is causing our pain is not something that is dangerous. And then we can take the next step, which is celebrate tiny wins. And Keith does a great job of that. Every time he has a show, at the end of a show, he ends with celebrating wins, right? And we want to do that on a consistent basis so we can build a little momentum. We're not talking about big wins, just little wins. Hey, I took a shower today. Awesome. And then consistency, right? Jose kind of talked about that a little bit on Tuesday, right? Consistency always outperforms capacity, always outperforms intensity. And so just doing a little bit, but consistently will build over time. And then when we do this, we can actually develop an identity shift. In a sense, we go from this sort of catastrophic thinking, oh, I can't do anything, my life is over type thing, to, oh no, I maybe I can do something, and maybe I'm not totally, incapable of living the life that I thought I wanted to live. And so we kind of flip it on its head. And then that's where the progression comes. Motivation, of course, being the byproduct of all of these things. Jose took it on Tuesday. He took it to another level where effort is not the problem, actually. Capacity is. And so, this whole idea of sort of asking more of your body than your body has to give, right? So in my world, when I treat chronic back pain all the time, right, muscular pain probably is the most common form of back pain. I mean, there's obviously joints and discs and nerves and all these things that could be related, but by and large, across the board, muscle pain is probably number one as far as causing back pain. And so if you might be a little bit overweight, maybe your muscles are a little bit weak, you're sort of asking more of your muscles than your muscles have to give just to kind of go throughout the day. So I call this a supply and demand mismatch, essentially, right? And that can lead to strain, sprain, and pain is the catchphrase there. So definitely you want to have capacity before you put in the effort. Otherwise, you're going to hurt yourself. Katie emphasized on her show Wednesday that you can't push through depletion, right? You can't eat like crap and expect your body to perform. And it was actually quite a fun episode. If you didn't see it, I was a guest star on her show, you might say. And we sort of microanalyzed my haul from a gas station.
Yeah, mine too. Wasn't that good?
No. So, we learned that, okay, well, yes, it is a gas station. Yes, it's probably not everything that we're eating, but where are the healthy choices that we're making on a day-to-day? Where are the opportunities that can be had, right? and she brought her own food that she purchased from a gas station, and
which was surprisingly good. Those pickles that she left behind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were spicy and sweet all at once.
The pickles, the pistachios.
Oh yeah.
The apple, of course. Yeah. So apparently you can eat at least relatively healthy from a gas station. So there you go. Last night, Keith hit it out of the park again, sort of bringing us back into the patient perspective and emphasizing the experience that a patient may have when they're just told to try harder, right? And the shame that it can bring along with that, especially for patients that may already feel like they're giving it their all. They're already pumping at 110, 150%, and just because maybe they're not meeting their own goals, or let's say the goals that were assigned to them or expected of them from those around in their life, that can be very demotivating.
You know what was really catchy and unique about that whole thing? He did all that after being dry needled.
You're right.
Like that part of Jose's show, man, that was a trip. Seeing those, they had to be like that long, just going straight in and the wiggling. Oh, that not me. Maybe not me yet.
Kevin's still recovering from this. I think it's worse if you're watching it.
Yeah, because he didn't seem like he felt a thing.
It's supposedly supposed to feel good.
Well, I mean, the aftermath.
Yeah.
Watching them go in, that is, if you didn't catch that, you gotta look at scrub to about the, I think, 38 to 40 minute marker.
There you go. Yeah. Live on air. Keith tries it right there, which incidentally is great for the strain, sprain, and pain of muscular low back pain. So there you go. Full circle on that. What I wanted to do today is sort of recap this idea on motivation and effort and identify the missing link to all of this. I think this potentially, or maybe most, affects those who really struggle with motivation. I know a lot of you feel like you're already giving it your all, and that's great, and I'm glad you're doing that. Keep it up. But there's a lot of us who, no matter how we try to move the pendulum, just can't seem to get up and fight for anything worthwhile. And so the missing ingredient today that I want to bring up is this idea of purpose. Okay? And Kevin, that's our first slide. The missing ingredient is purpose. There's a great quote by Viktor Frankl. He's an Austrian neuroscientist. Back in World War II, actually, he was a Holocaust survivor. And Kevin, you can put that quote on the screen. He said, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Right? And he's most famous for writing a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. And that's where that purpose comes in, the sense of purpose. Well, purpose isn't an entity in and of itself. Purpose is really linked to identity. We often identify with our purpose, whatever that purpose may be. And actually, I'm reminded of a speech I did back in residency. I was a chief resident up at UT for a year, and we had to give a speech at the end of the year. And the speech I decided to talk on was identity and purpose, in essence. This idea that it's so easy for doctors to sort of get wrapped up in their identity as a doctor, right? And so if a doctor has a bad outcome, let's say with a patient, that doctor tends to take it very personally. Or if there's a bad review, or if something didn't go according to plan, that doctor, it weighs on that doctor on a personal level. And it's good that we take responsibility, of course, but when it crosses that boundary sort of into the existential view of self, that can be very destructive. Assuming you're doing everything that you are supposed to do. And so, this idea that, no, we're more than doctors, right? We're fathers, we're mothers, we're sons, we're daughters, we're members of the community, we're members of the church,
just as human as pain patients.
We're just as human as anybody else, right? And so if you think that you struggle with this identity problem as a pain patient, trust me, you're not alone. Doctors struggle with it just the same, maybe in a different little perspective, but this idea that we're tying our identity with a certain purpose. And that's hard to maintain over time.
Oh, yeah. You know, you said something one time in one of your lives where you'd mentioned about, how'd you put it? Sometimes you would see so many patients in a day, and some of the stories that you would hear and experiences, it would almost put you in their shoes and having to absorb all those different situations. It's enough to bring even the doctors into tears. And I thought that was just very powerful.
Yeah. And, you know, the longer you do it, the more I think you can emotionally separate yourself, but you don't want to emotionally separate yourself so much that you're not engaged.
Right.
And, you know, I think maybe a lot of doctors struggle with maybe going too far on that as well. Right.
I can only imagine. I mean, you see 1,000 people in a month. That's a lot of weight to carry.
Well, whether it's self-protective or maybe you didn't go into the field for the right reasons in the first place. You know, Keith talks about buzzsaw doctors. And I mean, there's a reason that there's buzzsaw doctors.
Right.
They're
jaded too then.
Well,
if that's the case.
They're either jaded or they weren't there, you know, for the right reasons in the first place. They had to, you know, they're basically going through the motions to accomplish what they feel like they need to accomplish. And that can also be just as destructive because now you're not invested in the patient. You're not invested in that relationship. And then, you know, you get the response that you get. So,
right.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, this idea of identity and purpose. And it particularly affects, I think, pain patients because sort of piece by piece over time, they're losing their sense of identity to begin with, right? Like, well, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to provide.
I hate the ustas.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand having a conversation. I feel like an old man or something unaccomplished when I'm like, yeah, you know, I used to do this back in the day and I used to do that.
Right.
Oh, it's the worst feeling ever.
Oh,
I hate ustas.
Yeah. But that's the reality a lot of pain patients live with, where before they had this debilitating condition, yes, they used to could be the mom that went to all the games and packed all the lunches. They used to be the dad that could go out and slay and provide and do all these things and build and all these things, right? Whatever the case may be, whatever role you had, you used to be able to do that. And then, but now you can't.
Right.
And so this idea of your function goes away, certain relationships go away, right? Roles change, and your purpose now comes into question. And it goes right out the window with your identity.
Yeah.
So there's really, you know, there's two versions of you. There's the past you and the future you. Okay. And the problem when you are losing your roles, your functions, your abilities, is that you're losing the old you. You're losing the past you. And so you're losing that identity, whether you want to or not.
And slowly putting on the new mask.
And what you're realizing is that because you can't, you don't know what your old identity is. Now you can't see yourself in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You become an invisible, looking into the future, right? And it's not just losing the past. You know, patients think, you know, when you think about patients with chronic pain, you think, well, it's just the suffering of the pain, but it's also it's grief.
Right.
You're grieving the loss
of the old you.
You.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Spent a lot of time with the old you.
And you're grieving the idea of you in the future.
Oh yeah.
And the life you thought you were going to build.
Right.
Right. So it's not just pain and suffering. It's also a grieving process. And so if you can't go back, you can't bring back the old you, but you also can't see the front the future you, then you're kind of stuck in this middle ground where there's nothing but pain, suffering, diagnoses, disability, dysfunction, shame, guilt, depression.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay there long enough, you actually start building your identity around these concepts, right? And hence the whole catastrophic cascade downward, the spiral downward.
Right.
So talk about loss of motivation.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah, that sounds, oof.
So we start telling ourselves, okay, well, if this is who I am, I am broken. I am damaged. I am worthless. Who could love me? What am I worth? Right? I don't know what's worse, dealing with this sort of piece by piece, let's say in a chronic pain scenario, or kind of ripping the Band-Aid off, let's say if you suffered a spinal cord injury, right? As a rehab doctor, I see a lot of different injuries. Spinal cord injury is not uncommon, unfortunately. Imagine being totally independent, living life one day, and the next you can't move half your body, or all your body. Talk about a life-changing injury, just like
tough.
that.
That's super tough.
Right. And so talking to these patients afterwards, it's very challenging because they sort of have the same experience, I think, that a chronic pain patient has, but it's condensed into hours versus weeks or months or years, And so when you talk to them, I mean, everybody has different experiences. So I'm not trying to put everybody into one bucket, but my experience with the few patients that I've treated is that, well, how am I supposed to be there for my family when I can't walk? Okay. Tell me, how were you with your family before when you could walk? Well, we would, now they're not remembering day-to-day life. They're remembering the highlights, right? Well, we used to go to the beach and walk on the beach, and now we can't do that. We used to go on a hike, and now we can't do that. Okay, what was the best part about going to the beach? Well, I got to be with my family. Okay, that's great. Let's focus on that because that hasn't changed, right? The method in which you spend time with your family will change. How you do it, where you do it will change. But the core meaning, the impact, the whole purpose of your life, let's say, spending time with those that you love, that hasn't changed. We're still here, baby. Don't give up on me now. So trying to reframe that in something that I think gives us something to hold on to is so important. But it's not just the silver lining. When you boil it down, that's really the core meaning. The rest of it is just the dressing. The rest of it is just the flavor, right? So true identity is not your job. True identity is not your role. Your true identity is not your strength, your productivity. All these things will pass away. To all of us, even naturally, as we age. We go through the different stages of life.
So then what would one's true identity be? Who you are becoming? So you are not what you do. This is the lesson tonight, okay? And this is my perspective on this. Okay.
You are not what you do. You are who God says you are. Right? So when I was trying to put my thoughts together for this sort of conclusion, sort of summary that I had on the week, I was actually reminded of something I wrote 3 years ago. I don't know where the time went. And I want to read that to you guys tonight because I think that it beautifully sums up what we're trying to talk about tonight.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up here.
A journal entry.
You can call it a journal entry.
Okay.
I do a lot of driving. My wife likes to live in beautiful places, and it's never near where I work. So I drive a lot and I think a lot. And I wrote this sort of thinking in the same world that we're thinking now, because not only do patients deal with this, and pretty much every patient that I see deals with this on some level, but husbands deal with it in their relationships. Wives deal with it. Children deal with it, right? Any kind of relationship, whether you're looking outward or you're looking inward, trying to hold tight to some meaning in all of this so that we can persist, we can put in the effort, we can have the motivation to get through the storm. And so this was what I was thinking about and trying to rationalize in my head. And actually, it was quite therapeutic for me, and I hope it's therapeutic for you too. If I were the devil and I were trying to destroy you, the prized possession of God himself, I would do everything I could to confuse your sense of identity, and then I'd sit back and watch you destroy yourself. I'd tell you you're worthless. You're nothing but a screw-up. I'd say you're unlovable. I'd tell you the world would be better off without you. Of course, none of these things are true. They're all lies. But by God's grace, we can still know the truth. You were made from love. Regardless of the circumstances that led to your existence, the Bible says you were fearfully and wonderfully made. He knew you while you were still in the womb. You are a child of God, made in his image. And guess what? God is love, which means you were made in the image of love. Your purpose is to love. Once you realize this, you can rest in the knowledge that love conquers all, past, present, future. You don't have to worry. You don't have to fear. You don't have to think so little of yourself, despite what the world says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And think about it. For an infinitely powerful God to sacrifice himself, Jesus, to save you, implies that you are of infinite value.
Yeah.
So when did pain first enter the world? When we believed the lie that we were something other than what we were. Never forget where you came from or where you're going. Never forget who you are.
That's powerful. That's really good. That's really good.
I don't want to pat myself on the back. That didn't come from me, man. And I think the more we keep that right here,
Right.
that yes, we're worth something, despite all of our inadequacies.
And conditions.
We can take the love that we're made of, that's been given to us for free, and give it to somebody else and find purpose in that, regardless of what is going on in your life.
That's good.
That's why you all are here. That's why you're in the chat. Perhaps you're looking for something more. Perhaps you're fed up with the system that this evil, sinful world has for us. Perhaps you're fed up with not being validated, not being understood, and being almost a castaway, and thinking so poorly of yourself, and you wake up every morning, why another day?
Yeah.
Perhaps that why is to reach out to somebody else and say, hey, bud, it's going to be okay. We're in this together. Let's love each other. Let's love somebody else. Let's remind everybody why we're here and where we're going. And I think that's one of the reasons I love looking at space so much, because it puts everything into perspective.
Of how small we are, but how big one gesture can be as far as love.
Yeah. And there's more to this than just living pill to pill. There's more than this than just getting injections and hoping something's going to work. And so that's my prayer for you. I hope that hit home with at least some of you and meant something. I can promise you it does to me. Again, thank you for all of your support so far in the growth of this channel. We're really trying to do something that's impactful. We've talked a lot about, clickbait and, let's do something controversial so that we can get, likes and all this stuff. Yeah, we want to get the word out, but we're not trying to be your average YouTube, junkie channel, right?
You hear that, chat? He's right. Well said. We're not trying to be the Joe Schmo average right across the street from you. This is something different.
Yeah, and we're really trying to start a movement where we can be a home for people who want something more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we formed the alliance that we have, right? It's not just doctors. How many just doctor shows are there where they all pat each other on the back?
Right.
No, I'm smart. No, I'm smarter. And we're not just a nutritionist show. We're not just a PT show. We're coming together in an alliance with the patient perspective to learn from each other so that we can start a new movement of understanding, of growth, of love.
Essentially, that's what it all is. That's what it all boils down to.
That's what it all boils down to.
Yep.
So, on that note, that's the takeaway for this this show. The word is love.
That's a good one.
If you want to type that into the chat, like we do, supposedly that helps the YouTube algorithm.
Can anyone give us a love?
Give us a love.
Give us a love.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, sir. On that note, we are going into the weekend. The weather is beautiful. We got a great week planned next week. Kevin, what are we talking about Monday? I know it's interesting.
You know something? A diagnosis explains what's wrong.
So, yes, we're talking about diagnoses, but the bad part of diagnoses, once you get a label, it's easy as a doctor to just kind of go, all right, you got fibromyalgia, have a nice day.
We figured out what's up.
It's like, whoa. No, maybe we should take that another step.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that Monday. That's the theme for next week. Don't forget to log out of the chat tonight and leave us a thumbs up on the video if you found this at all to be helpful. I'm going to head out. I got a lot of work to do still before the weekend comes. Go and learn something about God. I will see you Monday. Take care.